Live from the KHOU 11 studios, it's Great Day Houston. And now, here's your host, Deborah Duncan.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Great Day Houston. It is Medical Monday, and from feeling good to looking good, our doctors today can help improve your quality of life. Before we get to their individual areas of expertise, we want to address some hot topics making medical headlines. To weigh in on today's topics, welcome emergency medicine and anti-aging specialist Dr. Richard Laconi, hormone specialist Dr. Stephen KHOU, and Dr. Tony Reinke, who specializes in veins. All right. Let's start off with what's happening with the flu. Very widespread. Texas is one of the states hardest hit. They expect it to get worse in the coming months. 26 people have died in Texas from the flu since last month, and the most common strain is the one that we thought went away a few years ago, that H1N1 that we called the swine flu. So a question a lot of people are asking is, if you didn't get the flu shot already, is it too late?
No, it's not too late.
Okay.
I mean, the flu shot takes about, on the average, 2 weeks plus to develop some immunity. So obviously, if you contact the flu before that, the shot won't have helped you.
Yeah.
But remember that, the tail of this epidemic is still coming through. And so it's not too late to get the flu shot. And by the way, every year you get a flu shot, your immunity to the flu just gets better and better. Okay.
And then, of course, the other concern is older folks, children. Usually it's much more severe. So we found out that children's Tamiflu is in short supply. If you should get the flu and rely on Tamiflu, short supply.
Well, yes, Tamiflu is out there. It's available. And even for children, if for some reason your pharmacy doesn't have it, you can have it compounded in a children's strength.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
it's
yeah, and you use that word compounded, which is something that you use all the time, Dr. KHOU. So what does compounded mean?
Compounds means they take the natural ingredient and they prepare it in the dose that the doctor wants for that specific patient. So it may give a lower dose to a child, and the compounding pharmacist who has the ingredients, the natural ingredients, can do that.
Yeah, so
let me mention something else too. If you want to help protect yourself against the flu, I would recommend, and we do to our guests, high levels of vitamin D. Most Americans are very low in vitamin D, and we use anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 units a day to get the vitamin D levels high enough, and that will help you build up your immune system to help protect you against the flu.
Yeah, because Dr. Reinke, that's kind of, people always say, okay, well, one person got the flu and in the same office, the other person didn't. Why is that?
Exactly. Yeah, I think in our office, all of us are required, I don't know, as physicians to get the flu shot, but there were some people that were talking about, well, this year's strain, if you get this year's strain or this year's flu shot, it was actually protecting you against last year's strain.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask, what do you think about that sort of controversy? Yes, you get the flu shot, but the strain has already
evolved, so it's a different strain than you're being...
Than last year.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that,
right.
that this year's strain will be the one that they pick for the flu, but they do show that every year you get it, there's a little crossover. So, there's a little, benefit there, even if they make a complete miss.
Yeah, yeah. They also said that men tend to experience more severe influenza and get sicker from microbial infections than women. And also a new study says that male hormone testosterone reduces the effectiveness of the flu vaccine.
Well, that's a tough one.
Good. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, we don't have to worry. Finally, the men are the ones who are suffering from something.
Women's inflammatory and immune reactions have pretty much always been known to be a little more vigorous, and it's partly the explanation for why women get autoimmune disease at a much higher rate than men.
Okay.
So this very effective immune system is generally a good thing, but every once in a while it can cause some...
Dr. Laconi, are you Italian? The reason why I was going to say that
it's been said.
Yeah, you are using your hands, and I can hear your buttons hitting the table right here. I'm like, well, that explains it's the Italian in you. That's okay. Black ladies do it too. Here we go. All right. The other thing I want to get to is in the news right now, A-Rod. Has been going back and forth about what did he use to enhance his ability to play the whole bit. And we're hearing the term anti-aging medicine, a guy who was providing anti-aging medicine to him. And I want to make sure people don't think that for some reason that's illegal because he was doing it. There's a difference between abusing something and something that is used within the ramification or within the scope that's supposed to be used in.
Well, we know this. As individuals age, men and women, our hormone levels decline. that causes an aging process to occur. If you want to defeat that, you replenish your hormones with natural hormones that your body used to make in adequate amounts. And if we can do it as individuals, I don't know why a baseball player couldn't do it if they don't abuse it. If their hormone levels are declining, which they will over their career, why they shouldn't replenish those. And it worked for A-Rod.
Yeah, I was going to say, somebody said it's obviously working if they're trying to say, no, you can't be better.
We use also more of a bioidentical formulation of the hormone, which I think is more natural and everything. But at the same time, and there's also a dose factor.
Yeah, because he was using testosterone, he was using supposedly human growth hormone and some other things.
Yeah, the dose you need to knock one out of the park is not quite the same, as the dose you need to kind of
we don't know what dose he was taking.
Yeah, and, or what he was actually taking.
We don't. But we do know this: that there is an antipathy in the Food and Drug Administration towards those doctors that prescribe anti-aging medication that's natural. They don't like that. Why? Because I think that they want to promote drugs, and the drug companies, if people are healthy, they don't have to take a lot of drugs.
All right, just replenish what you're missing.
Right.
All right.
He certainly looks good.
Yeah, he certainly looks good.
Yeah, it's working.
Can I just say, A-Rod certainly looks good. He does. We've seen something in medicine that has always been there, but it seems like we're making much more of a point of it, and that is, it used to be you go to the doctor. But today we're making a much bigger deal about a specific doctor for a specific reason and seeing clinics and stuff set up for specific reasons. For example, you treat vein disease. We have vein thinners now. Yep. Still, one of those things that is commonly misdiagnosed. People think of it as a dermatology issue because they might see the scaliness on the legs, the purple color, the ulcers.
Yeah. Or, I guess, I was going to say in that same vein, but then that's a pun, isn't it?
However it flows out
yes,
of you,
okay. Yes. Or that it's a plastic surgery issue, so it's totally cosmetic. And I think that our practice focuses on chronic vein disease. Patients, maybe they don't understand their symptoms, so they go to somebody, they say, I have this cramp, ache, whatever, and then they end up going to a dermatologist for perhaps an issue that they think is something, but it ends up being a chronic vein disease.
Or feeling like if your legs are tired, there's a muscular issue.
Right. So oftentimes they go to several specialists before ultimately they end up coming to us.
Yeah. Same thing with anti-aging medicine. You go to several specialists before you end up coming to the person who can fix it. All right. According to researchers, they discovered a naturally occurring hormone that reduces the activity of a brain molecule that acts as a cannabinoid receptor. I feel like I've gone to medical school right here. Okay. What it is if you're like... If you're smoking marijuana, it can block that high. So they're thinking that maybe that could be used to help fight with addictions to marijuana and help those who use it medically not to rely on the behavioral effects of it as well. So,
well, I think the hormone was pregnenolone, and this is one study, and who knows if that really works or not.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get, if you're worried about getting high on marijuana, then don't smoke it.
This same hormone, by the way, has some appetite relieving effects. So
which is the opposite of what the others have.
Well, that's why it is.
So forget the munchies, right?
Anti-munchie hormone.
Yeah. The anti-munchie hormone.
All right. But, certain possibly explains why some hormones help relieve, excess cravings and anxiety, because they actually had a prescription drug that almost made it to the United States called Rimonabant, which is very similar to pregnenolone.
Okay.
And didn't quite make it, for a couple of various reasons that, are kind of hard to understand. But it was a good appetite suppressing hormone, which apparently we're finding out now this is through the what do they call it? The cannabinoid receptors. I can't even say that word.
Who knew that we even had that?
Cannabinoid receptors.
Well, thank you very much for that. If you have a question for our doctors, you can always email us at greatdayhouston@khou.com. And in light of a few states making marijuana legal, do you think Texas should follow their lead and make money off what people are doing anyway? That could take the criminal element out of it. Or is making pot legal opening Pandora's box and sending a dangerous message? And where do you stop? Would other drugs be next? How do you feel about that issue? Log on to Facebook and we'll share some of your comments later on in the show. Are you ready to put your best face forward in 2014? How to turn back the clock and start off this new year with a fresh face coming up next.